Dean Martin had 3 wives, but only one watched him die slowly. Night after night, Jeanne Martin sat at a nearby table in the same restaurant. She watched her ex-husband eat alone. She'd been with him through his affairs, his drinking, and something worse. A tragedy so devastating that Frank Sinatra said it killed Dean Martin years before his actual death. What happened in 1987 changed everything, and Jeanne never stopped watching over the man she couldn't save. Dean Martin's story began in the rough streets of Steubenville, Ohio. He was born Dino Paul Crocchetti on June 7, 1917. His parents were Italian immigrants. His father, Gano, had arrived from Monte Silvano in 1913 and worked as a barber. His mother, Angela, was born in Ohio, but her parents came from northern Italy. At home, Dino only heard Italian. He didn't speak a word of English until he was 5. His early world was filled with Italian songs, rich food smells, and the struggles of a working-class family during the Great Depression. This strong Italian background would one day add charm to his music and style. But as a boy, it made life harder. When Dino started school, he faced cruelty. At Grant Elementary, other kids mocked his broken English and his Italian accent. They teased him, copied his words, and sometimes even threatened him. In those days, many looked down on immigrants. Dino felt out of place and hurt, but he didn't fight back. Instead, he learned to use humor and charm to protect himself. These traits would later help him win over audiences. That painful start helped shape the cool, confident Dean Martin the world came to love. By the time he reached his teens, Dino grew tired of school. He dropped out in the 10th grade, convinced that he was smarter than his teachers. The strict lessons didn't interest him. The real world seemed more exciting, and his family needed the money. He took dangerous jobs, working in steel mills, where accidents were common. He also got involved in bootlegging and gambling, dealing cards, and running liquor during and after Prohibition. At just 16, he was part of Steubenville's risky underworld. These jobs were dangerous, but they taught him about people, survival, and how to stay cool under pressure. Dino even tried boxing, calling himself Kid Crochet. He fought 12 times as a welterweight and joked later that he won all but 11. His time in the ring left scars, a broken nose, a cut lip, and broken knuckles because he couldn't afford hand wraps. Years later, comedian Lou Costello paid for him to get his nose fixed. The surgery helped him look the part of a leading man, even if the change was subtle. As he chased his dreams, Dino shared a tiny apartment in New York with his friend Sonny King. They were so broke, they staged bare-knuckle fights in their living room. Spectators paid $5 each to watch them beat each other until one passed out. On good nights, they made about $50, which would be worth nearly $1,000 today. They even pulled tricks at diners, pretending to get phone calls so the other could finish the food. When the owner caught on, he let them both eat for a nickel. Years later, when they made it big, they paid him back $25,000 each. Dean also worked as a courier in a hidden casino behind a tobacco shop. By night, he spun roulette wheels and watched for police raids. Later at night, he sang in clubs under the name Dino Martini, inspired by opera singer Nino Martini. But his manager, Sammy Watkins, suggested he change his name to Dean Martin. It sounded less Italian, which helped him break into show business at a time when ethnic names could hold you back. That change opened doors. Dean's big break came with the Ernie Mackay Orchestra. There he found his voice. Inspired by Harry Mills and Perry Como, he developed a smooth, easy style that would make him famous. At first, he copied their sound, but soon, he made it his own. His warm, relaxed way of singing won hearts and set him apart. It all started in Atlantic City. In 1946, Dean Martin was singing at the 500 Club. Jerry Lewis was doing his wild comedy act. They were booked one after the other, but one night, their solo acts fell flat. The owner was ready to fire them. Out of desperation, they tried something new. They jumped on stage together. Martin sang while Lewis interrupted with wild antics. Martin answered with cool, straight-faced humor. The crowd went wild. Laughter filled the club. The owner rebooked them. Right away, what began as a last-ditch effort turned into comedy gold. Their chemistry was instant. Martin's smooth charm matched perfectly with Lewis's mad energy. Within weeks, their act became the hottest thing on the East Coast. People couldn't get enough. They changed nightclub comedy forever, mixing music, slapstick, and fast improvisation like no one had done before. In 1948, Hollywood came calling. Martin and Lewis signed a deal with Hal B. Wallace. Wallace was famous for producing Casablanca. The deal was small in money, just $75,000 for both of them. But what mattered was the freedom. Wallace gave them full control over their routines. This was rare. Studios usually kept stars on a tight leash, but Martin and Lewis could write and improvise as they pleased. Many thought this was a risky move. After all, they were still new to film, but it worked. Their movies had the same wild, unpredictable spark as their stage shows. The small paycheck didn't matter. They gained what few stars had in those days, creative power, and the chance to shape their own legacy. Between 1949 and 1956, Martin and Lewis made 16 films together. They started with My Friend Irma and ended with Hollywood or Bust. That's more than 2 films a year. Their movies were huge hits. By the early 1950s, they were among the top 10 box office stars in America. In 1952, they were number 1. They outsold big names like John Wayne and Bing Crosby. People of all ages loved them. Their films mixed music, slapstick, and quick banter. They also conquered radio and television. They packed theaters coast to coast. Comedy, teams, and buddy films that came later owe a lot to Martin and Lewis. Their run remains one of Hollywood's most successful, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Martin felt like he was being pushed aside. The world seemed to see Jerry Lewis as the real star. In 1954, Look magazine put Lewis alone on the cover. They cropped Martin out. For Martin, this was a slap in the face. He was more than just the straight man. He was a star, too.